Hey everyone, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. So I have a series of thoughts related to motivation. If you have historically struggled with motivation, whether it's to do with fitness or something else in your life that you would like to implement, then I think going through a few of these things with our trusty notepad behind me here could be of value. So basically, I'm going to riff on a few things. So when it comes to motivation, there is a sort of timeless phrase, I believe it's referred to as an idiom, and that is the idea of the carrot or the stick, right? So most of you will be familiar with this, but if you're not familiar with it, it's basically a phrase related to motivation or a motivation style that incorporates a reward being the carrot, right? And a punishment being the stick. The idea being that you reward good behavior and you punish bad behavior, right? It's a very sort of classic and fundamental way of incentivizing behavior. And I have a prime example that has been on my mind recently because I've been so impressed with it in my personal life that that's actually a spark for making this video. So, a prime example of the carrot is actually from my near 4 year old dog, Eleanor, where we have discovered within the last year that she has fallen in love with going to the pet store nearby. So, the reason why this is so important is that as much of an angel as our dog is, she is a very lazy dog. She generally does not have an inherent motivation to go for walks or play with a ball or play with other dogs or be extremely physically active. She's not that kind of dog. It's not in her nature, right? Where it can be for other dogs. But what we've figured out is that well, we know she's food motivated. But what we figured out is she is so food motivated that she actually is willing to go for a good walk, a solid walk to the pet store and back because she likes to sniff around. Sometimes we get her treats from there, right? So she has this learned behavior with a motivation to go to the pet store, and she's gone from a very historically lazy dog to a dog that's generally active. It's a big difference. And I genuinely felt like this was a profound enough example to actually make this video revolving around it and relating it to us as human beings. So, with that being said, what we have to ask ourselves, and this requires a bit of meditating and genuine sort of critical thinking, right, for ourselves, which is what does the carrot look like for you, right? What does the carrot look like for me? What does the stick look like for you? What would the stick look like for me, right? So, the carrot is the primary reward, right? For my dog, it's treats or food, right? It's a reward. For you, if you have a goal theoretically in your mind, there's probably a reason for it, but it's probably not a strong enough reason right now for you to actually implement the behavior. And same with the stick, right? So the stick being your primary pain point, right? If you are suffering in any way, it could be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever it is. You have to be clear on what that pain point is and use that as motivation to change certain behaviors so that you can steer away from some of that suffering, if that is the case for you. Now, what I would recommend, and I've done in the past and even currently, is I will write certain things down. Make a note. If you have some genuine insights for yourself, make a note, especially put it on a sticky note, preferably in as big writing as you can. And maybe even write multiple notes, maybe even repeat it on different notes and put them, especially if they're sticky notes, put them in places that you are typically around, whether it's like a workspace or a nightstand or something, somewhere in the bedroom, somewhere in your workplace, whatever, maybe even on the fridge, right? Remind yourself constantly of what your, carrot is and what your stick is. Or maybe it's multiple carrots, multiple sticks, right? I know these things sound very basic and rudimentary, but I think that at its core, things like this are actually very profound. They make a big difference for people. They make a big difference for myself. I have always been mindful of what my primary rewards are for doing certain things. In the past, right, long time ago, right, any sort of primary pain points that I had at the time was a very key driving factor for me to change certain behaviors basically at the time. So, you know, I know there's only a handful, a few dozen people around, but I hope for those of you who are listening to this, I hope this is insightful in some way. If you have any, insights, comments, requests, questions, anything like that, any feedback, any topics you'd like me to go over, anything like that, feel free to comment. I would be happy to, engage with you in the comments. I really enjoy all of the, positive and neutral comments. So, with that being said, hope you're taking care of yourself. Have a good night. Peace.